teach Flacco the song.
Here we go.
Who they? Who they? Who they think gon' beat them Bengals? Who they? Who they? Who they think gon' beat them Bengals? Nobody.
Uh-oh, here we go. All right, boy, again, this is what happens when you show up 30 seconds before showtime. Microphone was muted. I don't think that's a song. I think it's a chant, but I don't want to be pedantic. Am I right? I never thought of that as a song. And second of all, it hits different coming from a team that lost 48-10, a franchise worst defeat just a few weeks ago. These are not juggernaut Bengals. These are seat of the pants, desperate, let's change anything we can, look what we found, coming up against a team that I don't know what the hell they were doing last night. I want to give the Bengals credit, but the Steelers' defense, where was it last night? Were they aware that Jamar Chase was on the field? Were they aware that the Bengals still have the capacity to hand the football to Chase Brown or Samaje Perine and run it? I was impressed by what the Bengals did. I don't think this means they're back. I just think it raises questions about whether or not the Steelers are as good as some, i.e. me, thought they were. And good morning, Michael Hawley.
Good morning, Mike Florio. And hey, don't worry about getting into the seat 30 seconds before the show starts. I don't know. Gary Carter can tell you, I don't know anything about that. I just have no idea who would do that. Of course, I used to do that all the time. And I did it a couple of weeks ago, too. I didn't even realize it. But I would say this, Mike, the Steelers are aware of Jamar Chase. The Steelers are aware of the Bengals. And that's why Mike Tomlin was so upset at Andrew Berry. We heard what he said publicly about Andrew Berry giving the Bengals Joe Flacco. I wonder what he said privately. I wonder what he did when, like the rest of us, he's on his phone or looking at the NFL transactions in the Steelers offices and sees Browns trade quarterback Joe Flacco to Bengals for a late round draft pick. I know he lost his mind publicly, and he probably did a lot worse privately, because that's what the story was last night, was Joe Flacco. Without Joe Flacco, I think Tomlin knew they had a really good shot of going into Cincinnati and coming out 5-1 instead of 4-2.
It's amazing to see Flacco play as well as he did just 8 days after the trade went down. And they weren't horrible by any stretch of the imagination against the Packers at Lambeau Field. That was a game that was going to be very difficult to win. It wasn't a blowout per se. There was some garbage time yards and points. But last night, when it looked like the Steelers were going to put the pedal to the metal and turn it into a rout, it was 10-0 fairly early. The Bengals woke up, and the Bengals took care of business, and the Bengals were impressive. The Steelers couldn't stop them. The Steelers couldn't slow them down. I remember when the Steelers faced 4th and short, I don't know, around their own 40, 45, something like that, with 5 minutes left, and they punted. I thought, you may not get the ball back. And that was one of the only times they stopped the Bengals. And they did get the ball back. The only problem is they scored too quickly, because the fact that they stopped the Steelers or the Bengals defense once didn't mean they were going to stop them again. The Bengals went right down the field and left the Steelers without enough time to try to answer. And there we have the final score of 33-31. Joe Flacco really was impressive. 470 total yards. They went from the shower curtain defense against the Jets back to the steel curtain defense the past few weeks, and now they're back to the shower curtain defense after last night. That was an opportunity lost. And hey, short week, Mike Tomlin, short week, not good. Never won on the road on a short week ever. And he's been doing it a long time. And they've been playing short week football for a long time now. And the Steelers get that short straw. One year they got it a couple of times. winless on the road on a short week is Mike Tomlin. And maybe Andrew Berry knew exactly what he was doing. Not that the Browns are going to catch the Steelers, but it did kind of stick it to the Steelers last night. And there's a lot of Cincinnati games in prime time. The Bengals are now going to be fun to watch. That Thanksgiving night, Ravens-Bengals game, all of a sudden, a little more interesting because all of a sudden we can tune in to watch Joe Flacco.
Look, Mike, you said earlier you don't know if the Bengals this doesn't mean the Bengals are back. Okay, I'll go there with you, but they're 3-4. They're 3-4 with a quarterback now that is an upgrade over Jake Browning. I don't know how good Joe Flacco is. I don't know how sustainable it is. We all know how good Joe Flacco is at his best. I mean, the Browns saw this from Joe Flacco a couple years ago, and he got him into the playoffs and had like a 5-game winning streak and really looked good for the Browns. And then, he kind of crashes eventually. And so for the Bengals, does this last a game? Does it last 4 or 5 games with Joe Flacco? All I know is the Steelers could have just ended it last night for the Bengals. Their season was on the line. They win this game. You're 5-1. They're 2-4, 2-5. They're done. And now they're not. So I don't know if they're back. I just know they're not done either. And yeah, Joe Flacco gives them a fighting chance, especially when they take on the winless Jets in their next game. They're right back in the mix. And you talk about their defense. It does. Their defense has just been up and down all season long. At the beginning of the season, thought, this defense is overrated. They were able to straighten it out. But last night, Jamar Chase reminded you what a number one receiver, what it means to have a number one receiver. It's not just a bunch of catches. It's a bunch of catches when everybody knows the ball is coming to you. They still throw it to him, and you can't stop it. That's what a number one receiver is. That's why he's the best receiver in football.
Yeah, somewhere A.J. Brown was watching that game last night saying, see? Right? See? And when all else fails, that's
give me some targets.
Throw it to Jamar Chase, throw it to T. Higgins. Throw it to Jamar Chase, throw it to T. Higgins. Last night, it was more like throw it to Jamar Chase, throw it to Jamar Chase, throw it to Jamar Chase. Maybe throw it to T. Higgins. That's how it went. Because Higgins still had a big night. 6 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. A.J. Brown will take that. He'll take that. He'll definitely take Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
Targeted 23 times, 16 catches, 161 yards, and a touchdown. Unbelievable. And Chase Brown had over 100 yards rushing, 9.8 yards per attempt. And hell, on that drive where the Steelers actually stopped the Bengals, there was that moment where Joe Flacco took off running the football. That was the moment I thought they're going to win this game on this drive. I was stunned that the Steelers stopped them after that run. I thought that run was the moment that the Bengals flexed on the Steelers and the Bengals were going to put it away. So it was an exciting game. It was one of the most exciting games of the year. We've had some good games this year. We've had some good primetime games. We've had 7 of 8 primetime upsets. 7 of 8. And the one that wasn't an upset was one where I said, why are the Chiefs favored over the Lions? That's the only one where the favorite won, and I would have looked at those two teams and thought, Lions should be the favorite. So the night games have been nutty lately, and last night's the most recent example. And I don't know. Jets, Bears, and then bye week. They got 3 straight home games. Checked off the first one, beat the Steelers. Sunday, the 26th, the Jets, and then Sunday, the 2nd of November, the Chicago Bears. Who knows what will happen there, but one more win and they're at 500. So, I don't know. You've convinced me. I'm not putting in a fork yet.
You can't put a fork in them. And that play you mentioned from Flacco, and this is why I say it's good for the Bengals to have Flacco, but I don't know how sustainable it is. So that play from Flacco where he takes off running, It was a busted play. He didn't know the play. So, yeah, he explained after. Hey, like, okay, I thought this was supposed to happen. Oh, I guess I'll just run with the football. So he took off, and it was a positive play for the Bengals. And I think the entire night was kind of like that. Like, he's so new that it's refreshing. He knows most of the plays, and he knows what he's doing because he's 40 years old, and he's been in the league for a long time, and he's been a number one guy for a long time. But on the flip side, there's a lot of backyard football there. It's like when and I don't know what this is like, maybe you do. If you're the first guy picked when you're playing pickup sport, I was never the first guy picked, or the second or third. But if you're the first guy picked playing pickup football, and everybody knows, okay, well, he went first. And so what are they going to do in the game? They're just going to go to the best player on the field. And there was a lot of that. I don't know if Flacco has mastered the Cincinnati offense, but the Cincinnati offense last night was throw it to that guy, number one. And if he's not open, if he's not open, throw it to number one anyway. And if he's triple covered, we'll go to number 5. And if they double cover both of them and big play in the game, I'll go right down the middle and get a big play that way. So can you keep doing that? Can you keep doing that game after game? I'm guessing no, but right now it's working, and they needed it. They needed it desperately last night, and they got it. And that's the Joe Flacco.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.